JT Wistersill of Locked On Utes. I want to pass it over to you. I had the opportunity, thanks to good friend Ivan and Philip, who, aka Wild Ute, were able to welcome me into the fold for the Holy War this weekend to experience the complete chaos of Saturday. From the perspective of a Utah fan, I know there are a lot of questions, a lot of maybe even concerns for what it was like to be in that first Big 12 matchup.
I'll say this before we get to the fans and everything, Drake, I want to know, watching these two teams in person at this point in the season, what stuck out most for you on each side? BYU's defense is elite. I don't think that we can get around how, back it up. Utah's defense is elite. I don't think we can get around how truly good Utah's defense has been, honestly, all season long, with a couple of hiccups, obviously, here and there. But they even grade as one of the best in the country. They've moved up to 6th in the nation in defensive success rate based on analytics. The first thing that stood out to me is that Utah has no business being where they are in the Big 12 because of how good their defense is. The offense is what has not carried the load. Making the quarterback change was the right move here. 21 points in the third quarter. All you had to do was show up some little minute bit in the second half, and Utah didn't. Then what stood out for BYU, good football team, we know that. And I don't want this comment to take away from BYU being a good football team. But when folks throw out the term team of destiny, that's it. Still a good football team. Yes, a team of destiny, a team that just is allergic to losing somehow, also can be true without detracting from how solid BYU is as a program. Those two stood out from an on-field standpoint. I appreciate you sharing that sentiment. I wanted to also now move to the fans. This is a rivalry that we've been waiting to have back for a couple of years. What was it like walking up to the stadium, the tailgate lots, all of that? What was it like as the game wore on, especially as it turned sour for Utah late? Yeah, shot ski, man. Pre-game shot ski inside the club at Rice-Eccles, right? Felt like I was just immersed in this Utah experience. And then you walk out to the Pig Bus where they're roasting a pig, and has become now, I guess, a controversial Twitter personality. I don't give a rat's butt. I had a beer and some fried or grilled pork, and that's all that I care about. Awesome. I mean, the tailgating scene, the pregame scene, and then you walk in and energy is palpable. That stadium is compact, the concourse especially. You get a wonderful, wonderful representation of what a rivalry is in college football. And one note that I want to give that doesn't involve the fans, but involves Utah's actual game day experience: stop during TV timeouts honoring the fan of the game or the donor of the game. You kill all momentum, Just do it. Just do it at halftime, do it pregame, and then play Mo Bamba for the full 3.5 minutes, or do something creative, right? Outside of that, the actual fans themselves. Did I hear F words? Did I see trash thrown on the field? Did I see double birds across the stadium? Absolutely. Did I hear that from BYU and Utah fans? Yes. What I heard was a rivalry game. Now, what makes it different is because of the undertones of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and a majority of the BYU fan base being religious, and still a strong portion of the Utah fan base sharing that same sentiment, you see two fan bases that are often very accommodating for opposition. I'd been to a Utah game when they played SUU. SUU fans felt embraced. I've been to a BYU game when they played Baylor. Baylor fans felt embraced. In this scenario, it's like you threw all of that, all positive sentiment, all love, all general care for your fellow man out the window. Now, college rivalries are for that. Bama, LSU, you're going to get plenty of middle fingers, swear words, probably don't bring your kids. But they don't sell alcohol at Rice-Eccles. And these are two fan bases that it's called the Holy War because of the religious undertones. But I would not have brought a kid under the age of 13 probably into that scenario, even when the game was at 21-10. It was pure hatred displayed for 3 hours that I do believe was turned off pregame and turned off postgame. But when it was turned on, it was chaos. And I don't know if that's an indictment on either fan base. It's just a nod to this being one of the great rivalries in college football. I don't want to praise you for being vulgar or praise you for taking things too far, but that's what college football rivalries do, especially the elite ones. Well, college football, I think this is where it's unfortunate. College football is supposed to be for the memory of the dad who went to the school taking his son to the game.
Yeah, no doubt. True.
And I understand we all get passionate. I understand we all get fired up, but there have been a couple horror stories that I've seen on X or other various platforms that do not leave me encouraged about the state of what happened during the game.
Right.
And it's bad apples yet again. But I mean, come on, the trash on the field, guys. Like, what are we doing? We're not Texas. I don't want to be Texas.
Context, JT. At the same time, I see so many, and there are videos of BYU fans throwing trash at officials as they walk off the field during a holy war in years past. But BYU players you cannot, especially with the culture of that program, the culture they put on, you cannot rush to the Utah end zone, to the north end zone where primarily Utah fans sit, and start giving them U's down or run over there and start taunting Utah fans. Go shake hands with the opposing team. For those Utah fans that were double birding those BYU players, they're stomping on your logo and rushing into your end zone. I don't mind some moxie from the fans there, because that is unacceptable from BYU.
You still got to have the respect. Both sides. You are still, just because you're in a stadium doesn't mean the laws don't apply anymore. Doesn't mean you can't get in someone's face, because you can still get knocked out. I mean, we've seen what happens a lot. There's been certain celebrity interactions. Certain football players have been standing on business lately. Like, it's just, you can't act this way. It's just, that's where it's really frustrating to see, is people revert to those pre-college days, almost, of even a maturity level, where you see that level of fighting and interaction. Once again, these games supposed to be heated. You can talk a little bit of trash, but there were lines crossed several occasions, and this rivalry is still supposed to be fun. It's heated, but it's fun too. And when it crosses that line, that's where it's just a bummer for everyone. So I think we touched on that topic well. One thing you touched on this barely, Drake, but if you really had to pinpoint a reason, how and why do the Cougars continue to find ways to win? I know you talked about Team of Destiny, but like, what is it late? Like, okay, and yes, they got help with, like, I didn't like the penalty call on Landon King, but they still shut Utah's offense out in the second half. The offense didn't do much. And even after they got the PI, whether it was a penalty or not, we've debated that ad nauseum at this point. They still marched 50 plus yards to get in field goal range when they had to make the play yet again. Right.
I do think, man, if you watch the holding back, probably a holding. Should you call it? That becomes the question, right? Are
you talking Zemiah Vaughn or Landon King?
I think
I'm talking Zemiah Vaughn's the DB at the one. I'm talking about Landon King, the tight end on the offense.
So in that scenario, it's like, I think, and it's both scenarios fall into this for me. Call the misdemeanors, not the felonies. That's what I've seen that kind of thrown around there.
I like that.
Like, don't take the game out of the hands of the kids. If you replay it by textbook, was it a foul? Maybe 60% chance, 70% chance, but was it a foul that should decide the game? That's not for me to decide. The officiating crew did decide that. And I don't know
how many plays do we do exactly that, where we go back and
which is tough. I know.
Offensive line, especially, like, there's holding almost every play, right?
Yep. And so and I go back to the Oklahoma State game where BYU should have lost. I go back, there's so many times this year. It's like, okay, this is it. BYU found a way to somehow lose. How does this affect the Big 12? Like, that's how I'm titling my show. And then they go win. JT, if I knew the answer to that question, I would play the lottery and I would win millions and millions of dollars. Would you give me some? I would give you $55,000. Let's move into BYU, Utah, because I've started to become so much fun. I'm getting back in my holy war zone right now. I'm just like, I've gone back to Saturday. I'm in the stands. Let's go to BYU and Utah and talk kind of the future. So we talked past so much this week, and whether or not BYU has passed Utah as the cream of the crop in the Big 12 on Locked On Big 12 and a Locked On Utes crossover edition, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by, oh yeah, that's right, FanDuel. Shocking, I know. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. And it's where you, Utah fans, it's where you went on Saturday and said, Utah is a 3.5-point underdog. I'm going Utah +3, and it hit. Get ready to tackle the NFL action or the college football action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. You can do it on live bets too, on the NFL or college football, all in one place. You can check live stats and play-by-play too to get a hunch and win money. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. That's FanDuel.com. Visit them today.